Welcome back to Real Estate Without Agents, the playbook for homeowners of the information age. I'm Rock, Florida. Before we get into today's episode, let me ensure that you are properly oriented. This show is structured in linear chapters. Each episode builds on the one before it. And if you're just joining us after you've enjoyed this episode, I would recommend starting at the beginning and moving through this as a series, not as random standalone episodes. This isn't hype content. It's not entertainment first. It's a framework for homeowners who are ready to see themselves differently, not as passive participants, not as people hoping the market is kind and fair, but as faithful and competent stewards. Stewardship doesn't mean perfection. It means responsibility, the ability to respond ably. And responsibility always starts with preparation. That's what Due Diligence 101 is really all about. Let me start somewhere familiar for everybody: buying a car. I had never had a car payment. I normally operate from the space of don't go into debt on a depreciating asset. But this was several years ago when I realized that being debt free leaves little for the credit rating systems to work with, and I was needing to leverage some debt to give those systems something to work with. So I bought a car through Carvana, sight unseen, no test drive, no dealership, no salesperson hovering around. The platform, Carvana, showed me detailed photos, clearly disclosed flaws, and documentation in the form of service records and a Carfax report. I had selected two nearly identical Acura MDXs. Then I read the Carfax reports. The one that I had chose had been owned by two different gentlemen in Tempe, Arizona, so I wouldn't have any rust issues from having had salted roads. And both owners had had the vehicle meticulously serviced every 5,000 miles, with the second owner having replaced the timing belt at 80,000 miles. I knew then that that was my car, as it would be good to go for the next 100,000 miles or so. They didn't pretend the car was flawless. They told me exactly what they knew, and that transparency created confidence. Here is the principle I want you to internalize: buyers don't need perfection, they need the truth and certainty. When uncertainty goes down, willingness goes up. Keep that in mind as we start talking about homes. Before we go there, I'm going to take you to the other side of the spectrum. Prior to my career in residential real estate sales, I spent years as a business broker. I helped people buy and sell privately held businesses, real companies with real cash flow, real liabilities, and real risk. And here's something every seller learned very quickly: you don't sell a business with a smile and a story. You sell it with due diligence that can withstand fierce scrutiny. Every serious buyer brought professionals with them: attorneys, CPAs, sometimes financial and valuation analysts. They examined value as an aggregate, not a guess. They looked at the risk factors, historical P&L statements, normalized earnings and earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization, detailed asset list with depreciated fair market value, the owned real estate, lot value and improvements, goodwill and blue sky, Ultimately, recurring cash flow and the opportunities for that to be reasonably maintained or preferably grown. Folks buying a business, after all, are really just buying a new job or a vehicle to provide for their family. Nobody expected perfection, but everyone expected and eventually found the truth. When sellers weren't prepared, transactions moved forward steadily when they were prepared. When sellers weren't, deals slowed, renegotiated, or fell apart and died. That experience permanently shaped how I view real estate because while homes feel emotional, they are still assets. And buyers, whether they say it out loud or not, evaluate them using the same underlying logic. Let me say this very plainly. There's always something wrong with the house. Houses are like people. They're all a little messed up. They age, they settle, they get repaired imperfectly, and they carry history. The goal of your due diligence is not to hide those things. The goal is to tell the truth to the best of your knowledge about what's wrong, what hasn't been fixed, what has, and what a buyer should reasonably expect. That's not a liability, that's stewardship, and buyers trust it. You expect your buyer to be pre qualified, don't you? And preferably before they ever even look at your home. How much more so is it the right thing to do to be a fully qualified seller with a truly validated offering? Here's where most homeowners get stuck. Selling a home is a highly emotive process. They prepare emotionally, not factually. They're coached to focus on curb appeal, staging, lighting, narrative, and all of that helps. But when a buyer asks, how old is the roof? Did you pull permits? What systems have been replaced? And what issues are known? Many sellers suddenly feel exposed, not because the house is bad, but because the seller or their agent doesn't yet know their asset well enough to speak confidently about it. Uncertainty weakens leverage. Due diligence restores it. So let's define this simply. Due diligence is the reasonable effort to know what you own, document what you know, and tell the truth clearly. Facts, flaws, fixes, and context. It's not hiding defects. It's not legal theater. It's not agent only work. I call it radical honesty with structure. Do you know what the easiest way is to avoid lawsuits? Tell the truth. Here's your action step for today. Create a digital file folder. Google Drive works great, Dropbox, whatever you prefer, and name it your address due diligence folder. And that's it. Don't organize yet. Don't stress yet. Just create the container and put the notes that you prepared from the last episode, what I know about my home, into it and prepare for future iterations. In the coming episodes, we'll begin placing documents into that folder, one category at a time. Preparation becomes enjoyable when it's strategic and incremental. Let me summarize what you should take away from today. Buyers don't expect perfection, they expect clarity. Serious assets are sold with preparation that can withstand scrutiny. Homes are no different. When homeowners do this well, they don't just reduce stress, they often create opportunity. I shared an example in the last episode of a homeowner who was properly prepared, calm, and honest, and how that preparation created confidence and a better outcome. That wasn't luck, that was due diligence at work. This content gives you clarity. The Real Estate Without Agents Masterclass gives you structure, and coaching helps you apply good judgment with confidence. Next episode, we begin with the foundation of all due diligence, the seller's property disclosure. Why? Because honesty isn't just moral, it's practical. You don't prepare because you're afraid to sell. You prepare because you respect what you own and you don't want to be caught with your pants down. I'm Rock, Florida. This is Real Estate Without Agents. We'll see you next time.